If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine, and maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them, from disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Ashers, and this is
Pat O.
So, did you see my did you all in the podcast world and you, Pat, did you see my Twitter post from this weekend?
There was pictures.
My general weekend and video. Yeah, I know. I went to this party, and my friends, have this really neat party, and it's called Soup Night, and everybody brings different soup, and we eat soup, and also get massages and listen to music. So,
was that Anne's husband that was choking you?
Anne's husband that was choking me. Who was choking me? Someone was choking me?
I thought that was in one of the pictures.
Could have been. I don't think anybody was choking me. No, Anne's husband doesn't. He's not a cool person. He doesn't hang out with people. I think you're talking about Caleb, but no, that's not. That's just Caleb, or maybe Shane. I don't know. I'm not sure what I posted, but no, it was fun. It was good. So, I had this fun, interesting weekend. I've kind of been, if people have noticed, I've kind of been in not a very good place lately, emotionally. And, part of that is that I haven't really had much of a social life lately. And it was really nice to see everybody. I mean, it was pretty neat. Friday night, we actually went out to the bar and nobody wore masks. And I know that that's kind of a bad thing, right? I mean, you guys want to yell at me and I should be in trouble, but like, this is not, bar life is just not something that I like, period. So I'm really not there very often. We were at a hole in the wall type of bar. There was less than 10 people there, and it was just, and I think you kind of did something similar, maybe one of these days. But it was really nice to just kind of not fucking worry about the pandemic for a minute. You know what I mean? Like it was a huge relief. So we went and played pool, and I don't know. I thought that was pretty neat. And then, we followed it up with, Saturday night we had the soup night, and then Sunday I had a photo shoot. So, it was a business.
Yeah. What was the impetus behind the Chucky thing?
There was really no reason for it. So my one of my friends, Chelsea, she is an aspiring photographer. So she's trying to get her practice in. She Friday night gets a hold of me, and she's begging me to do this photo shoot. She said that she was having different people in different slots. She was doing it all day Sunday. And she was like, please say yes. I really want to photograph you, which, I can understand why. But so, initially I had the idea. I'm like, okay, well, me and Anne really need to do promotional shots for like the documentary. And now we're talking about spoilers, breaking news. We're talking about starting our own production company for our documentaries. And so we were discussing doing, like I said, some type of promo work. But we really didn't, all of our ideas that we had, we really didn't, like we had briefly talked about it Friday night. Then we got too drunk. Then we talked about it Saturday night. So at 2:00 in the morning, we're sitting in her car talking about doing this photo shoot the next day at 4. So we've got less than 14 hours to figure out what we're doing. And I was like, listen, I've got this Chucky costume. Why don't you go to the thrift? You got blonde hair. Go to the thrift store. Go buy a wedding dress. You have a leather jacket. Go buy a wedding dress. And we'll just do Tiffany and Chucky just because. So that's what we did.
It looked pretty good.
I thought so too. I was really impressed, especially because we had no time to really get it together. I think it's turned out great. I've seen some of the pictures. I have some of the pictures. I don't have all of them yet. So I'm just kind of waiting to to post them. But the ones that I have seen are really good. So I'm excited. We'll see. But I think that what we're going to do is, I think we're definitely going to use Chelsea in the future because I really liked her. And, the fact that she's, kind of an indie artist in the photography world, I would definitely like to support that and, get her out there. So I think that this is the start of a very beautiful relationship. But yeah, no, it was fun. It was, I liked it. And I just like to dress up, that's just my thing.
When I was in a band, I had a lot of favorite parts to it, but photo shoot days were always a lot more fun than I think I initially thought I would have with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I realized that it was something that there's a lot of, I never liked being interviewed, which was kind of a flip because I like to fucking talk. So you would think that I would like to be interviewed, but I always kind of hated that shit. And like whenever I had to, I could sing and like perform in front of large groups of people, but whenever I had to do like Q&As and shit, I never really liked that. That was always, it felt too like whorish to me for some reason.
Yeah.
But I loved photo shoots and I loved posing and like putting out different outfits and like, we would like go somewhere and we'd have like shopping bags full of different clothes and you'd like put on this leather jacket with this hat and stand against this brick wall and then change real quick behind a dumpster and then, do this, it's a lot of fun.
It really is. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I like to dress up, so I have fun with this. I'm excited to do more of it in the future, especially again, now that's nice out. The last shoot I did was Christmas. So, and I was like, wow, I guess I really haven't done anything. My photographer, we were going to do a Valentine's Day thing, but I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it. He was already busy and I was just like, oh, okay, whatever. So,
I think a lot of it, like so many of us are kind of like, we're so used to our friends just having cameras on their phones being like, oh, take a picture of me doing this, that you forget what it's like when you deal with a real fucking photographer.
Yeah.
that can like make you look good.
Yeah.
Not that you don't already look good, but let's just say they capture 110% of your essence.
Yeah.
We'll put it like that. Sure. And like really make you look good as opposed to like, oh, here's a picture that someone took, real quick and it looks not bad,
Yeah. Well, I understand. Yeah. I know what you're saying. I mean, it definitely is different. Like I said, I enjoy it. I think it's fun. And then of course you get the end result, you get the pictures and, so I don't know. I'm definitely looking forward to doing more. And we've got a couple of ideas of things that Ann and I are going to do. But it will still be probably about a month until we're able to, put them into place because we have to get costumes and all kinds of stuff. So it'll be fun. So I've had a really busy week so far. And then of course today, yesterday was 420.
Don't do this time travel shit. It's gonna fuck me up.
It's so right. I know. Me up. I've already got high once today. I don't need to. Like it's wearing off, but like I'm too high for that shit. So
I'm coming up behind you. Don't worry. Pass me the baton, Ashers. I'm fucking running with it.
So, as you guys know, we record on Tuesdays. Today is Tuesday, 420. I hope that everybody was safe out there. I don't know. There's not really much I could say about it. But
might be some looting going on later. We'll see.
It's a really.
Hope you all got your flat screens.
You stop it. No, everybody's gonna be too high today to go out and do anything.
Fuck that.
It's a very interesting day. 420. For people that smoke pot, everybody's like, oh, 420, let's get high. And that is what it is. Except like it's also like a very unfortunate day, right? I mean, it's Hitler's birthday. Right. Columbine. Right. And now today, as we're speaking right now, we are recording at a really weird time because the, George Floyd verdict or, I guess Derek Chauvin verdict is getting ready to be read. So.
And Jim Steinman just died too. R.I.P. He's the guy that did, you ever see Streets of Fire?
Mm-mm.
Holy shit. Or you know who Meatloaf is?
Oh, yeah,
like
I know who
Meatloaf is. Meatloaf?
Yeah.
He co-wrote all of Meatloaf's albums with him. He's like this like rock opera dude from the 70s. Wow. Streets of Fire, check it out sometime. It's an awesome fucking movie. But yeah, he just died today too, which was a bummer.
Right.
But yeah, the Floyd thing is probably what today will be remembered. The next footnote next to this date in history.
Right. So, so I mean, here we are and who knows what'll happen with that, but either way, I'm going to get high after this, really, really high, and hopefully not remember that happened for just a day. And I think that that's okay. What are you doing? What is happening?
That was Jim Steinman.
Oh,
I didn't mean to do
this?
that. That's Pat playing with his cell phone while you talk.
I'm leaving it in.
Of course you are.
That's what happens when you get high before the show. So anyway, no, but I do have a couple of news to go over. Some news.
All right.
First and foremost, I think this is one that you kind of wanted to talk about, maybe not. But we're going to talk about it. The April 24th thing.
Oh, the rape day? That's bullshit.
Rape day. So so yes, let me say this right now. It is probably bullshit. Remember when the purge came out and then everybody made like purge night and everybody was going to go purge and then nobody purged?
Of course not.
It probably is bullshit. So if you're worried, because
it was that thing was actively debunked by USA Today. Like, it's not. I don't think it's questionable whether or not it's bullshit. Although you always got to worry with shit like this because even though it started out as bullshit, it could then backwards engineer itself into fucking reality. You know what I mean? And become a real fucking thing.
Well, I mean, that's how the Capitol riot happened. So that's.
That's true. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everything kind of starts off as bullshit. And then, you get a couple assholes together and they're like, well, fuck it. We're doing it. And the more assholes are like, I don't know what you're doing, but I'll join, And so it's, I mean,
right.
Mob mentality, it's very, very powerful, which is why it's kind of not a good idea to, put stuff like this out there. I mean, what was it started by just a couple of dudes on TikTok? Yeah, it was. But, you just, that's just a weird thing that's going to happen. But I'm going to tell you right now, if I will probably be out and about on that day, and if someone fucking dares try me, you're gonna lose all your nutsack, your whole nutsack. I'm gonna rip it off with my fingernails. So, and that's kind of probably why it's not a good idea for you guys to try it anyway, because a lot of women are going to be on the lookout now. So,
well, yeah, that popped up on my radar because a female that I'm friends with, who's actually an actress that I've worked with in the past and have a tremendous amount of respect for. She posted that. I think I sent you a screen grab of her whole thing, which was like, don't go out, or it was very like alarmist.
yeah.
And I was like, what is she talking about? So I Googled it and I found out that yes, the urban legend says that it started with this group of guys on TikTok. However, no one's been able to track down those videos.
Oh,
no one has a copy of it.
Yeah.
No one shared it. No one duetted it, because that's a TikTok thing where you like do a split screen with you and somebody else.
Yeah.
So there's this original video that supposedly was saying that April 24th was rape day. No one can track it down. There's no proof that it exists. However, what there is throngs of people, condemning this imaginary video and spreading the message inadvertently by reposting this bullshit. And I kind of reached out to her and I said, hey, this isn't true, just so you know. She goes, well, maybe it is, maybe it's not, but I'm getting the word out. And, I think that being ready is like the best. I don't know what the fuck she said.
Well,
but like,
yeah, and I agree with that. I mean, you might as well be prepared.
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just because this is something that I literally almost never have to worry about, right? So, like, maybe if I'm dismissive about this type of thing, it's just because I come from a place of privilege. But I don't know. I feel like you're doing more harm than you good when you spread shit like this
and talk about it. Yeah, I mean, it kind of is a double-edged sword, because then the more you talk about it, whether you're for or against, the more it gets out there, right? The more you spread the word on it, but. The fact of the matter is that I don't think that people really do need to be worried. I think that it is obviously bullshit, even if we have spread the word around inadvertently. But that's why I haven't really shared anything about it, because I just don't, I don't see it as a valid threat. But you just never know. So, I mean, if you're a woman listening to the show and it's not quite the 24th yet, just, practice caution. I mean, and we'll, if something crazy happens, we'll talk about it next week. So.
Yeah, I can't imagine groups of dudes going out in conversion vans and like jumping out and.
Yeah, that would be really weird. I mean, somebody will get raped on the 24th. Let's just be honest with you. A couple of somebodies will, because women just are raped all the time.
Probably the same amount that will happen on the 23rd and the 22nd.
Exactly.
Like,
right.
Unfortunately, it's something that happens in our society.
Right.
Right.
And I think, it's obviously important to talk about, and bring that to, at the very least, that this has brought that to people's attention, that this is just something that just happens anyway. So, I mean, it shouldn't just be the 24th that you're cautious. It really should be all the time. Now, I'm not saying that, it's on the woman to protect themselves. Obviously people shouldn't fucking rape people. That's gross and wrong, and you're disgusting if you do. But
I'll
you know,
second that.
you have to, yeah, but you still have to, kind of know your surroundings, practice, mindfulness and awareness and things like that, because you need to be prepared to rip a motherfucker's nuts off with your fingernails. Just saying. So that's how I feel about it. But yeah, so there's that. You also wanted to talk about the Karen that from the Twitter video.
Oh Jesus, you're gonna segue to that. That wasn't a Karen. I went to the dispensary this weekend, as I do on most weekends, and I witnessed an altercation in a parking lot, in the parking lot of the dispensary,
Okay.
between a fucking clearly insane individual who was not a Karen. It was a guy. It was a bald dude.
Oh, was it Chad or Kevin, or I don't know what they call those.
Uh, Probably Lars or something. I'm
Lars.
sure she's gonna claim Viking descent. No, so like I'm walking out of the dispensary and I'm walking down the block, and the parking lot to the place is like, I'm gonna give terrible geographic directions to this. So I was walking through a parking lot that was attached to a dispensary,
Okay.
and like a car. Granted, they were kind of driving like a dick, but a car like made like a very quick turn from the opposite side of the street lane into the parking lot, right?
Okay.
And they didn't really like I saw it happen in front of me. I was still a couple feet away from the driveway, so it's not like they almost ran me over, but it happened like right in front of me. Well, when they turned like across oncoming traffic to get into the parking lot, a car that was coming towards the dispensary on the same side of the street had to use their brakes. And people that are moving don't like to have to stop for anything. So, feeling inconvenienced by their need to slow their velocity, they decided to fucking take a zoom like right into the parking lot behind them. And in the process of that, almost hit another old lady that was leaving the dispensary parking lot, by the way. So she's got cancer or some shit. Fucking coming out of the parking lot, and those two cars almost hit each other. And if there was one accident that legitimately almost occurred, it was the non-dispensary customer chasing the other person into the parking lot and almost smashing headfirst into this totally random third party that was just trying to leave. So this all happens right in front of me, and I'm like, holy shit. And there's a couple of us standing around, and we're all like, holy shit. And the guy that chased the customer into the parking lot pulls up alongside him, and he starts screaming at him through his window. Okay. And the dude that was pulling into the parking lot is like, yo, you're fucking crazy, man. Calm down. And the guy's like, I saw you. You were looking at your phone. And he's just like yelling and like all this shit. And the old lady gets out of her car and she's like, you motherfucker, you almost fucking killed me. And like she's screaming at the guy that pulled into the parking lot. And I walk in between the two cars. And I said, you almost killed that old lady. And he goes, but, and he's shaking his finger, and he's got his finger extended, his pointer finger extended, and he's shaking it. And he's like pointing it at this other person who's like this like total burnout fucking 19-year-old kid. And they're like, but he was on his phone. They were on their phone. Like he was so like could not believe the injustice of the universe that this person was driving while talking on their cell phone and like cut him off. And they did cut him off. Don't get me wrong. Right.
Okay.
But like, dude, shit happens. Like I just drove home from work. I got cut off 3 times.
Right.
Like it fucking happens. You know how many of those people I tried to pull out of the car? None. Who gives a shit? You drive. It just happens. But this person was so, and I'm telling them to chill the fuck out. I'm like, you're an asshole. And the old lady's like, you almost fucking killed me. And there's these other people, these other little stoners coming out of their car now. Because I don't know if you've ever been to a dispensary before, but the parking lot of a dispensary is a very unique place.
Yeah.
Because you have the people that like are getting ready to go in and they're putting on their disguises before they go in. Because some people wear disguises when they go to the dispensary, like it fucking matters. And then you get the people that are coming out that are like going through everything in their bag and making sure they didn't get screwed over. And then you have the people that are waiting in the car while whoever they're with is going. So it's like there's always a lot of people in the parking lot. And just this person that like, and it reminded me of your Karen video, which is why I made the connection, where like these people have this sense that like the world is a crazy, unjust place, which it is. Like, don't get me wrong, right? There's little children dying with distended bellies somewhere in
Yeah.
Africa. Like, the world's a fucked up place. But like them randomly attacking some other person for doing something stupid is going to somehow fix it. Like, they feel like they have this, like they're vigilantes almost, but not even in a cool way. Just that they're just like these fucking psychotic assholes that want to like pull random people off the street and berate them for breaking some kind of taboo or for doing something unkind. I don't know. I'll let you talk. What do you think?
I agree. I mean, fuck that person. Especially, if you watch the video. So the video that kind of brought this on was that I shared this video of this lady who pulled up beside another two ladies in a car and was holding up a big sign that said "God hates sin," and she was berating her because she was walking around naked. And now the person did show their outfit at the end of the day, and you can't really see any skin at all. The problem was that her outfit was beige colored. Her whole outfit, or beige pants and beige long sleeve shirt, and there's not even any cleavage. Like, it's not. And the lady's like, "You're walking around naked." And so what's really messed up is that she's talking about, you guys need to go to church, blah blah blah. The passenger says, but you can't judge people. Like, the Bible says for you not to judge people. And the lady fucking rears off and goes, "Are you judging my judgment?" And it's like, how blind are these people to not understand that that's not what you're supposed to do? That's not how you're supposed to handle these situations. I mean, if you wanted to like pull up and like went like, God loves you, go to church sometime. Okay, whatever. You're still pushing your shit off on other people, but to like handle it so, I don't want to say violently, because I don't think she was really violent, but it definitely could have turned violent, pretty quickly. You're in the wrong for that shit. And I said that somebody was like talking about, Christians aren't like this, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, I can tell you right now, that lady's definitely going to hell because she's a bad person. She is, she's gross. I don't believe in hell, but if there was hell, oh, my neighbors are being loud suddenly. I'm sorry. But if there was hell, she's going to be there. And that's unfortunate.
Well, yeah.
I'm going to.
Especially if hell is a construct of our own guilt and fucking, self-hatred, then yeah, I'm sure she's fucking wallowing in it. If she's spending like even any of her free time trying to fucking berate other people. You know what I think the common denominator in both these stories are, which is might be a thing worth exploring? They were both in cars. And I think when you're in a car, you're so like encapsulated in this fucking vehicle that like you feel like you're not really dealing with these other people. But I want to see both of these situations play out with if all these motherfuckers were outside of their cars and standing in front of one another.
Have you ever worked customer service? This happens all the time.
I mean, yeah, I worked retail and I worked in fast food. Yeah, there's ignorant motherfuckers, but then once again, I'm 6'4". So once again, I just have to be like, I know people are usually pretty polite to me. I'm a big motherfucker. Like, people are usually pretty. When I worked in the hotel industry, people would be like, "Oh, don't go into room 804. They're crazy in there. They're fucking assholes." And then I'd knock on the door, and they'd be sweet as pie to me.
I'm gonna take you everywhere.
I don't know what you're talking about. They were all right to me. Like, okay, yeah, you're a 6'4" white dude.
I need a bodyguard. You're gonna be my bodyguard from now on. Because that's what I need. But,
nope, I'm not. I'm not trying to police that fucking real estate.
Damn it.
Whatever fucking happens there. I can't try to control that shit.
You just have to look mean. That's it. Okay. But yeah, so I don't know, man. People get killed in road rage incidents and shit like that. I mean, that really does happen.
We have it here in Chicago all the fucking time.
Right. Oh, I'm sure you do. I mean, it's everywhere, and so it's like, you know what? Just fucking be nice to each other. How about that? Like, is it really that hard to do? Just be nice to each other.
Well, that's the problem with everyone getting a concealed and carry permit now. Because like I'm a gun owner, and I'm kind of a low tier gun nut. I do not have an AR-15 yet, but and I'll be honest with you, they really push everyone to get concealed and carry. It's the worst idea in the world because the first thing everybody does, you don't have a lot of people legally wearing holsters out in public now.
Yeah.
But what you do have is a lot of people driving around legally with guns in their fucking car.
Yeah.
And all it takes is for that. It's still illegal to shoot people. It's still illegal to like get in gun battles while driving on fucking the Dan Ryan.
Yeah.
But it makes it one step closer to that happening because now people aren't afraid to drive around with the fucking gun right there. And when they get pissed because someone cut them off or someone did whatever, it's that much easier to pick up the gun and try to shoot out their fucking tires, and you end up shooting a kid in the back seat or something.
Oh yeah,
You know?
definitely. I mean, even then, you shouldn't be fucking shooting out people's tires. Like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Tires are expensive. Like, you just shouldn't practice violence where it's not necessary. The only time you should practice violence is if your life is directly in danger. That's it.
Right.
You know, that's it. That's the only time where it's acceptable. Again, it just goes back to, you know, be fucking nice to each other. And you know what? Back to that. Don't just be nice to each other. You need to be nice to your environment. I don't know if you've heard this story or not, but I'm pretty upset about something. I'm pretty angry. So everybody knows, everybody's seen all my lovely pictures with this guy, the Mothman statue in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. I don't know if you've heard about this, Pat. You don't really follow the cryptozoology circuits, but people are leaving cans of baked beans at the Mothman statue.
What? Okay.
Have you seen this?
No.
So, yeah, you know, people are leaving baked beans at the Mothman statue. And I don't know. I've heard two different stories, okay? I've heard that it has to do with the bean cult in Fallout 76. I don't know. I've never played Fallout 76.
I have, but I don't. I've gotten pictures of the Mothman, but I don't know that specific storyline. But yeah, I'm aware that he's in the game, and I've had encounters with him. And
then there's also people that are saying that it's part of some type of weird fan fiction about the Mothman. Listen, I don't know. You know, I know that one of my friends went there recently, and he took a picture. He actually took a picture of the statue, and like, there's all this shit on like the base of the statue. There's beans, there's like painted rocks, there's like notes, there's all kinds of shit there. And I've never, you know, in the past, you know, year and a half that I've been doing this, I've never seen so much litter, you know, at the I've never seen anything at the statue. Nobody leaves anything. So for some reason recently people are leaving stuff, and it's to the point to where excuse me, the mayor of the town is talking about removing the statue. So
that's no good.
It's not. Well, now, there's more to this than just the statue.
Okay.
So, the thing is that the residents of Point Pleasant don't like the Mothman. I don't care how much you like the Mothman. The residents there don't. And I don't know if it's just because they're backwoods hicks with no culture. I don't know if it's because, you know, maybe it's because, you know, they see that statue, and to them, that represents a bridge collapse that killed 46 people. You know, I mean, I don't know. They're just not happy about the Mothman thing. And I know this because, especially lately, I have been getting a lot of pushback from the residents there, and they're pissed off at me because they say that I'm trying to, you know, capitalize off of a, you know, off of a lie and things like that. They don't like me very much. And so they already don't like the Mothman thing. Now, here's the thing. The Mothman makes up all of their revenue, all of it. Nobody goes there to go see the mansion house. You know, nobody goes there to learn about the history of the town unless it directly involves the Mothman. So, but they don't like it. They would rather have the town go broke than continue to have another Mothman festival. Now, of course, there are individuals there that do like it and do enjoy it, but for the most part, they're done with it. They want to be done with it. Now, there's this guy, and I can't remember his name because I got high today, but he's kind of known as Mr. Main Street. Okay, he's kind of Mr. Mothman because he funded the Mothman statue. And he kind of keeps it alive. Him and Jeff Wamsley, they keep this alive. And Jeff owns the museum there. He just retired. This guy retired. So with him gone and kind of out of the situation, I mean, the mayor has every right to take that statue away. So if you guys don't want to see that happen, stop leaving your fucking trash and your fucking baked beans at the statue. Take your picture, do your thing, you know, but don't leave it there. I mean, that's just wrong anyway. You shouldn't fucking litter to begin with. You know, let's be honest with you. You know, that's just don't litter. But to do that and kind of ruin the fun for everybody else, I mean, that's just like the most dickhole thing you can do. So that was my soapbox for a moment. You got something to say about that?
Yeah. The guy's guilty.
What? They found him guilty?
Chauvin? Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
On all 3 counts. Unintentional second-degree murder, third-degree murder, second-degree manslaughter. Guilty.
Well, there you go, guys. I have half a mind almost to put this episode out right now. I'm just kidding.
There we go.
Wow.
That's it.
I gotta take that one in. I'm very happy. I did not expect that to happen. Did you expect that to happen?
I mean, we kind of talked about it before the show. Like, yeah, because I felt like it was pretty clear cut, but at the same time, there's this nagging thing in the back of your head that says, yeah, but they always get away, you know? So it's like, oh, like, wow. Well, I felt like this, did this one feel a little bit more, I hate to use the term, but did they have a little bit more dead to rights? Yeah, I feel like, you know, that video is it's hard to argue that. And regardless of whatever shit they want to stir up about, you know, George Floyd and his, you know, past whatever, and, you know, how he was at the time, like, if you're any kind of trained officer, there's no reason for that. You know, if you had any, even if you're like, you know, some random asshole off the street, you think that you would know better than to do that. So
yeah, well, I'm excited to see what the sentencing is now. I mean, that's the next step. You know, what are we going to do with him? I don't think that he qualifies for the death penalty. So I don't even know if they have it there in that state. But
well, supposedly, did you hear the thing about the appeal? Because there was some congresswoman that like made comments about, you know, if the verdict is not guilty, if they return the wrong verdict, then take to the streets and do all this. And she said this, I guess, like last night. And the prosecuting or the defense attorney was trying to get a mistrial today because they were arguing that her threatening mob violence, if he's found not guilty, could intimidate the jurors into making, like, you know, voting guilty.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the judge said, well, no. So, you know, the jurors, when they become jurors, they say that they're not going to follow this on the news. They're not going to do this stuff. So we have to trust in them not to do it. However, if you want to appeal whatever verdict they do return, you know, blah, 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 basically setting the stage for them to file a motion to appeal based on what this fucking congressperson said. And then we'll see what happens with theirs. So, you know, if there's one thing like you said, we'll see what the sentencing is.
Yeah.
Right. Like, just because it's guilty, you still okay, everything's calm for now.
You got a long way to go right now.
Yeah. Come back in another month and we'll be in the same position we're in now, where we're sitting there checking our phones.
Yep.
And they're boarding up windows and shit. So
right. So, well, you know, we'll see what happens. I mean, but I'm happy. This is a huge step because, you know, we were kind of talking about before the show. We really kind of needed something like this to kind of kick off that change. You know what I mean? This is a big, big winds of change right here. So, you know, we'll see. But that's not what the episode's about today. We'll talk about, maybe we'll talk about it more next week once we know more. But since we're recording it literally as it's happening. We'll have more to say about it because we don't know how people are going to react today. We'll see. So I don't know. Hopefully it's a good thing. Let's just
to be continued.
Hopefully, yes, to be continued. But yeah, so there's the Mothman statue. Roscosmos. Do you know what?
Man, you didn't waste no time getting on Facebook.
I didn't. I was doing it while you were talking. I told everybody, yeah. Facebook and Twitter. That's right.
Fucking the town crier over here.
Hell yeah.
Somebody's gonna remember this day because they're. And how did you find out about when this happened? Well, Ashley helped me to fucking.
I hope I let people know. I'm excited about it. I am. I'm definitely downplaying it a little bit, but we have we still have, you know, things to cover. So I'll just
gotcha
for now. So anyway, yeah, Roscosmos. Do you know what Roscosmos is?
No, I do not.
Roscosmos is Russian's space department. I don't know what the right word is for that right now, but they're space center people. Roscosmos, Russia, they are leaving the International Space Station. And they are going to build their own. So I don't know how much you follow that kind of stuff. I'm, you know, me being, you know, into my astrophysics and stuff, I follow it, you know, a little bit. But their side of the space station, like their little like unit of the space station or whatever, because it's, you know, split up into different kind of units, but on the same thing, has been having a leak over and over and over again, like continuously has this leak. And you know, they keep fixing it, and then it keeps breaking again. It keeps going back and forth. So, anyway, so we think that maybe they're leaving because of that, but it is very interesting that they're going to go start their own space station. So like the kind of moves that they're making, which is weird because they had certain deals with China for their space station, and which they were supposed to, I think, join up with in 2022. So we don't know if that's still going to happen. We don't know if they're going to go do their own thing. But I think it's fair to say that what we are seeing right now is another space race.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, we're living in that time now, where, we kind of had a break for a while, but I mean, with us going back to the moon, all this stuff with Mars, we've got SpaceX, now.
Well, yeah, especially with SpaceX and Richard Branson and stuff, the private sector getting involved with it.
Yeah.
Where you have enough crazy rich people to start to do this Batman shit, you know what I mean? And they're inventing tech. Now, it used to be the government invented everything, right? The government had all the best scientists, and it was the best United States scientists versus the best Russia scientists and all this shit. And now you have the private sector putting money behind it, saying, no, these patents and the things that we invent out of this that we can sell, no, this is too good. We're not going to pass this market up. And that's where I think it'll get really interesting. I think the governments are going to be kind of staled out because there's always going to be a cap at how much money they'll put into it. Like I'd like to think Elon Musk has more money than fucking NASA,
He probably, I think he does. Actually, NASA's severely underfunded. So
that's what I mean. Exactly. Yeah. And they're kind of limited in the pool they can draw from. Like, yeah, they can get people from other countries, but I feel like SpaceX has a bigger international reach than NASA or even the Russian space program. Like, who the fuck are they going to get? Like smart Russian people. I'm not saying that there's not smart Russian people, but that's that's much smaller of a talent pool to draw from.
Right. Well, and I think, for one, well, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people don't realize, people think that like NASA is it. Like NASA's the only people exploring space, and they're definitely not. I mean, you've got other countries doing the same shit.
China too, I think, has a pretty
China is, I feel like China's way ahead of us in our space exploration game personally. But they're definitely a threat, but it shouldn't be a race. You know what I mean? It really shouldn't. We should all be working together. And for the most part we do. That's kind of where we all lay down our arms and go, you know what, we kind of want to get to space. The only time it was back in the 1950s, right? And it was a pretty big deal then. Is it a good idea to then go along with that divide? I mean, should we just kind of let Russia go and go, okay, do you, or should we try to talk them back into working with us a little bit? I think it would benefit everybody if we all kind of got those programs together and worked together. But unfortunately, there's money in it now, so. That's where it becomes kind of a weird, iffy, kind of a pissing contest, and it's just not. I don't think it's great. I mean, we'll see what happens. Like I said, I don't blame Russia for wanting to abandon the space station because of technical issues, because of mechanical issues on the in their unit. That makes sense. But does that mean they're not going to work with anybody else ever again? We really don't know. And that's kind of where the China story came up with them, joining their space station in 2022. Are they still going to do that? Nobody really knows. We'll see what happens. But that's what they announced. They announced that they were going to build their own space station. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, the space race before it was an extension of the Cold War, which maybe says that we're moving back into that kind of geopolitics where, we don't even pretend to be friendly with Russia anymore. Well, didn't we just hit them with something?
That's a really good question. I honestly do not know.
Yeah, me neither.
I can't answer that. But, so that was fun. Now, on to probably the most interesting headline, I think. Headline, that's not a really good joke. It's kind of sad. So there's this lady, and she likes to take a walk on the Big Glace Bay in Canada. I think it's in I don't know exactly where. So she's walking down the Big Glace Bay one day, and she finds 10 headless seals. Okay, on the beach, and not just headless. They also have a hole in their torso. I think it's probably more along the lines of between right between their abdomen and chest. And, of course she thinks it's very, gruesome. And she's like, oh, well, I'm not going to go back there again. The next day she goes to Dominion Bay. She usually, likes to take a walk along the shore. That's her thing. She goes to Dominion Bay, and on Dominion Bay, which is somewhere else, is 11 more headless seals with holes in their stomachs. So now the fisheries and things like that are investigating this. We have cattle mutilation, except this time it's not cattle. It's seals. What do you think about that? Do you have any thoughts on
Yeah, Coast to Coast actually just posted an update on the cattle mutilations in Oregon that we talked about.
Yeah.
So that's an ongoing thing. No, I mean, I've never heard of seals.
Seals. Yeah. Well, we kind of touched on that a little bit when we were talking about, the last time we were talking about the cattle mutilations, was that, there are other instances of, pets and things like that happening. Now it's seals, but nobody really talks about that when things like that happen. Nobody's ever like, oh. Now, apparently this has been kind of happening for a while, except that they're not typically headless. And so when they're not headless, and maybe, this is telling, but when they're not headless, they can see that like their heads have been, crushed in. So, when people hunting seals is a very popular sport in Canada. It's very popular. I'm sure you've seen those videos on Rotten or Best Gore or something. I have.
No.
Oh, seal clubbing?
I was never a
gross person.
E-Bombs World. Like I was on Big Naturals, like Bang Bus, but like not E-Bombs World. That's not what I use the internet for, I guess.
No, this is pretty gruesome stuff. Seal clubbing. I think that they covered it in Faces of Death too. Actually, I think they talked about seal clubbing.
That's the kid whose parents don't love them.
Don't call me out like that. Fuck.
No, because I thought about like my friend growing up who had him. It's not that his parents didn't love him; they were just bikers and like didn't give a. They knew we weren't up to any fucking real trouble and let us do our own thing. But yeah, that was a fucking.
I watched Faces of Death for the first time with my mother.
Oh God, yeah, I think my uncle showed it to me too. It was
we were weird.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we were a weird family. And that's actually I was introduced to Rotten.com from my mom. And I was very young, I probably shouldn't have seen that stuff, but she was like, hey, do you want to see this? I was like, yeah. She's like, you want to see a dead body? I was like, yeah.
I remember my one uncle showed it to me and I was like, oh my God. Like I went to like some family function afterwards and I was like, Uncle Frank showed me Faces of Death. And my other uncle was there who they were not brothers. They were like brother-in-laws. He was like, that shit's not real. He's like, did you notice how they changed camera angles during the bear attack? Like, he's like, it's all fucking staged.
Yeah.
None of that stuff is real. He had to be that asshole to be like, oh, So yeah, that's all I really remember. What was the other Faces of Death? There was the Faces of Death series, and then there was like, because what was that doctor's? What was that doctor's name? It was like Dr. Gruesome or something fucking.
Oh, I don't, Dr. Gore or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah, and he was like, you think that doctor's name is really Dr. fucking Gore? Come on, man, and it's just fake.
No, Faces of Death is 100% fake. Traces of Death is real.
That's what I'm thinking of. Yes, that's what I'm thinking of, Traces of Death.
And there's more. There's Banned from Television, which is like a collection of like news reels and things like that they catch that they can't ultimately put on TV. That's real. There's all kinds of like death documentaries. Faces of Death is really very, very softcore compared to other things. I had this one DVD and it was really sketchy and it was like, I don't know, I don't remember. I just remember the last 45 minutes of it was just an autopsy, like a step by step. This is how you do an autopsy.
Yeah,
I am fucked up. I got problems. But anyway, back to the seals. Seal clubbing is very popular and stuff like that because have you ever seen a seal? They're fucking adorable. Like, how can you smash its face in? I don't even, I don't understand how you could do something like that, but they do. Seal hunting and seal poaching is really a big deal. So, I mean, did they take these seals and club them to death? And, I really don't know exactly what they use them for. Maybe somebody can help. I don't know what they use seals for, but you would think they take the bodies, but then cut their heads off to hide evidence.
Yeah.
But they do have holes. Every single one of them has a hole in their abdomen, in their torso.
Do you think that's like a fuck hole?
Someone's out there clubbing seals.
You know what I mean?
Like
something like bit off its head and then fucked.
It could be.
Like a walrus came up and was like, and then
We're gonna have to have a trigger warning on this episode. This thing is gross.
Now I'm gross. Whatever.
No,
When you heard about the hole drilled in the abdomen, you didn't think like
it could be a fuck-all. It could be
trying to shove its cock in there.
It definitely could be, but I don't think an animal would do something like that. An animal taking out 21 seals in 24 hours. That's a lot.
It could have been.
Just say it. You've already said worse. Just say it.
I'm already gonna bring it back. Maybe it was the seal version of April 24th or something.
Oh my God, Pat, you can't do this. It's not funny.
Did anyone check the seal TikTok to see if fucking other seals were making TikTok videos?
I can't. Oh my God, and we're gonna get canceled. Okay, well, R.I.P. On Wednesdays we talk weird. Wow.
You can cut that out. I don't give a shit. I won't get mad.
I might have to. That was pretty bad. Really? Full disclosure, it was kind of funny, and I'm a victim, so I can laugh at it.
Yeah, when you said bad, like I was like, "You mean it wasn't funny?" No, it landed. You're just a fucking scumbag. Okay.
Yeah,
I can live with that. Hey, you know what? Even if it was a joke that I just made to you and you laughed, then it's fine. You can take it out. It'll just be something that exists between the two of us.
I'll have to think.
Don't even worry about it.
So anyway, it could be obviously, people are entertaining the idea of aliens. It could be aliens. I don't know. We'll see, but that's kind of where we're at with it right now. I do think that, it keeps, obviously this topic keeps being brought up for us. Maybe we should definitely cover these things more in depth, give it its own episode and talk about kind of the more lesser known cases like, seals and pets and things like that, to kind of, show the scale of it, because this isn't just something that only happens to cows.
Right.
It does happen elsewhere. And so, that's where we're at. We have these mysterious deaths, but it is being investigated. Well, I guess I was saying before, this has kind of been something that's been going on for a while. They keep finding these washed up seals and sea lions with holes in the middle of their body. And no, they're not like big gaping holes. I mean, they're big, they're at least $50, probably more like a donut size hole, but they're not like these giant. I mean, they're circular, they're like perfect circles. And,
okay.
So it is weird, but in the other cases, the heads were there and they were clubbed in. So that was obvious then that they were, they were victims of poaching. So I don't know, we'll see how it develops, but I did think that was interesting. So, but that's all I have. What do you have this week, Pat?
You're gonna make me talk again.
Yeah.
And so I had an interesting Sunday. And I'm trying to think of the best way to introduce the story. So, okay. First of all, the past 2 weeks, there's been a several synchronicities between myself and Freemasons. Okay. I was hanging out with one for an extended period of time recently. I didn't know that they were a Freemason until after the fact, but we hung out all weekend and were partying and stuff. And then I come to find out they're a Freemason. All right. Not a big deal. Not the end of the world. And then I dug up an old interview that I did for my previous podcast with a guy that I had been friends with in my 20s. We were both bass players in different punk bands. And he was a Freemason, and he was really heavily into the occult. And a couple years after the interview, he ended up becoming a Chicago cop and then was outed. He was actually doxxed as being part of the Proud Boys.
Okay. Yeah.
And I had no idea when I interviewed him at the time. He was just a dude that I was catching up with that I knew was a Freemason that was into the occult that I wanted to interview for my podcast, like the kind of people we bring on here.
Right.
And just like I said, come to find out later that he had all these other fucking crazy political ties. And that interview I did about 2 years ago, but I probably re-listened to it earlier this week for the first time in years, just to kind of, I don't know, on a whim one day.
Well, you shared it to me the one day, so
right, and so you were asking for podcast episodes to share, and I busted that out, and then I thought I should go back and listen to that. I was really blown away with a lot of the shit that he was saying. So there was that, and then so at work we have an inspector that comes through once a month, and it's totally standard. Once a month he comes into the workplace and kind of looks around, and that dude's a Freemason, and he just happened to show up last week too. So, and I don't think any of these things are connected by any means, but I feel like sometimes when the universe tries to say things to you, you just got to listen, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was enough of a synchronicity. So I was like, what is going on with man, because I had thought about joining them at one point. I was super obsessed with them when I was like in grammar school, and you find out about all the founding fathers being Freemasons and all this shit. Like it was all, that was like, my head like blew up like for the first time, like as a kid, like hearing about that. Like it's one of like the OG conspiracy theories or the fucking Masons, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I've been like not like obsessed with them, but like low key, like very interested for a very long time. And so all these synchronicities pop up this week, and I'm thinking like, should I look into joining it? Because I know there's a lodge around here. And then I'm like, nah, I don't want to fuck with that. I don't know, And then this weekend, Saturday night, out of the blue, I get a message from an actor person that I worked with on a film project a couple months ago, who I had met through the first time. We were introduced through a mutual friend, and I worked with them on set for a day, gave him a ride to and from set actually, and had a great connection with him. We got along great. We liked all the same shit. Had a super cool time, and just kind of stayed Twitter friends. And then this weekend they reached out to me to let me know that they were kind of involved in a situation that they thought that both myself and the show might be interested in. And I don't know how, I mean, you listen to the tape, so you know as much as I do at this point, but like we're not going to get super into detail with it just yet on this episode.
Right.
We might
Sure.
more in the future, because it's kind of a lot going on, and we need to research some of it. But basically, they felt that there was a connection between some of the mass shootings that we've been seeing in the news lately, and there was another one today, and Freemason lodges, and the proximity of the shooting to Freemason lodges. And the one that kind of the most recent one in question at the time that they contacted me was the shooting Saturday night in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And this person had another connection with Kenosha, Wisconsin. And if you guys have been following the news, there's been a lot of crazy shit in the past year that's been happening in Kenosha, which is usually like a very sleepy Wisconsin town where the brat stop is. Okay. It's like where you get out and take a piss on the way to Milwaukee is fucking Kenosha. Or if you're going to Lake Geneva, you get off on Kenosha and you hang a left. So like it's this very like truck stop town, not a lot going on. However, there was a really heartbreaking, bizarre sex trafficking case that broke out of there last year, and it was also the home of it was also where the whole Kyle Rittenhouse thing happened, where the 18-year-old kid from Illinois took an AR-15, went to some Black Lives Matter protests in Kenosha, and ended up shooting like 3-4 people.
Yeah,
right?
and everybody. That's mostly what everybody knows it for.
Right. But I mean, that was in response to like a bunch of other stuff. So it's kind of become a hotbed for civil unrest. And then there was a mass shooting just this weekend. And my friend who has ties to Kenosha contacted me, and, we talked for about an hour about everything. And I'd like to bring him on at some point. I definitely want to follow the story and see where it goes. But it was interesting. It was kind of like my first taste of like, I guess if I'm going to be doing this show, like really doing the show and having to kind of talk to people and like chase down leads and shit and like do some research and stuff, which was interesting because this week we're covering the Manson family killings. And to prepare for it, I've been reading a true crime book about it. And it kind of puts you in that mindset, how these people find out about, they're not detectives, they're not police, but they're just journalists or reporters or writers that come across a good story and kind of just run with it and see where it takes them. And in these situations, it takes them someplace fascinating.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Hopefully I get to talk about it more on upcoming shows or not. Well, it could fizzle out too.
No, I listened to it. I always said that. I listened to it.
Oh, and I did fart at the 11-minute mark too.
You farted again, like right in the middle too.
I did. I totally did.
That's like Pat sends me this, and he's like, oh, he's like, we're gonna do this episode over. We can just put this out, like, and we could do like the intro and the outro, and this is the interview. And I'm listening to it. 11 seconds in, Pat fucking rips ass.
11 minutes.
There's no. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. 11 minutes in, yeah, and I'm like, there's no way we can't use this. You've compromised.
I didn't know that it would be that loud, number one. Or that number two, because like it was so janky how I set that up. So the person that I talked to did not want to use Zencaster, did not want to use the mobile platform that like we use to do this show, right? They felt that their tech had been compromised. That's a direct quote. My tech has been compromised.
Yeah.
So which I'm not laughing at, because
No.
you know
It
it could
happened.
happen.
Right.
It's happened in the past before. Who's to say? I mean, we know that this shit happens. The question is whether or not this person that I've been talking to is one of those people that it happens to. Everything they described is completely within the realm of possibility. It's just a matter of, did it happen to them? Yeah. So I had, so they only wanted to talk to me on a phone, but they were using a burner phone. So I was talking to them on my iPhone, and then I had to record it somehow. So I had my iPhone on speakerphone, and then I was recording a voice memo on my iPad. Yeah. And the technology kind of worked. It worked better when I tested it with my wife, because she has a higher pitched voice. So it sounded better. I understand what you were saying about them with they have a kind of a lower voice.
Yeah, so it just
but
sounded,
unfortunately
it sounded weird.
Picked up my and it picked up my farts too. So it was an hour-long conversation. You rip ass twice.
That is the thing that gets me. It was good enough to pick up your farts, but not good enough to pick up the clear audio from the speakerphone. I mean,
there's the sonic influence of my iPad as well.
Oh my god!
Along with the Bill of Rights and fucking everything else.
So, but we'll see. I mean, I definitely, I have a lot of questions for this individual. I don't know if you listen to the show or not. Maybe we can talk separately. Maybe we can sit down and talk about it a little bit more. I don't know too much about the Freemasons. I mean, I know a little bit. I could talk about it a little bit, but I would have to fact check a lot of not just what was said during that conversation, which, we can't, I'm not comfortable sharing at the moment, any of it really. Or, fact checking just Freemasons in general, because there are a lot of big claims out there about these people. And, it's not really something you hear much about anymore, which I find really interesting.
Well, the one thing that I made an effort to point out to right away is that there's like Freemason lodges in every fucking city and suburb all over the United States, basically. So when you say that there was a mass shooting in Austin, Texas, and there's a Freemason lodge in Austin, Texas, like, okay.
Yeah, that's
and there
was
a shooting. Yeah, and there was a shooting in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and there's a Freemason lodge in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Okay, and that's not me dogging them, or that's not me saying that there's not a more a deeper connection, but I don't think you can really go on proximity alone, because they're all over the fucking place.
Yeah. Well, that's like saying that, there was a mass shooting in my town, and there's also a Burger King here, so the king is out there killing people. Like, that's not, that's not necessarily a connection. Now, there's other claims behind that do, and there sounds like there might be, then there definitely could be, something there. Now, I did have a hard time kind of following the narrative of that conversation and not really understanding the connections. I mean, but that could be a mixture of being distracted by farts, not being able to hear the audio well enough, and also just because it was kind of an on the whim thing, right? I mean, you had just started talking to this person that day, right? And then you guys did the interview.
Yeah, well, the interview was set up that day. Right. And it was such a fucking pain in the ass too. And no fault against this person, but just like, we were communicating via Facebook Messenger, which is like the most unreliable, time delayed way to communicate with somebody. And we had set a time, and then I was available early, and I tried to do it early, but then they couldn't do it early. So, okay, we moved to the original time, but then they didn't answer. So then I took a nap, and then I woke up and I missed them. So then I tell them, okay, get a hold of me right away. And then I run to 7-Eleven. I'm at 7-Eleven, and they fucking call me. And it was like back and forth, but it happened, which is the most important part.
I understand. Yeah.
And I think that I agree with you, because I know it was something that I actually felt like I had practiced as an interviewer. Because I've written for newspapers. It's weird to talk about this in any kind of professional sense. But like, no, we interview people, and we, have back and forth where we talk about politics. You report on things, you know what I mean? Like, all of this is kind of like e-journalism, I guess. And I have to say, like, interviewing them, like, I really had to, just to stroke my own ego for a little bit here, I had to make an effort to keep things on track and to keep the narrative moving forward. And I honestly believe it was because they were in a place where they were legitimately scared, and that's why why they contacted me in the first place, is because they were they had a story to tell, and they felt like, the walls were closing in. But yeah, that when you have somebody whose emotional state is heightened, and you're trying to get them to tell a story that the audience can follow, it takes a lot of leading, and you're trying to steer like a bull that's trying to kick you off its back. You know what I mean? And it wasn't easy, and I didn't always do the best job doing it, but I felt like it was very good practice, at least.
Yeah, well, no, definitely, and especially because, yeah, you don't, I know you don't do that kind of stuff. So, that's, it was, it wasn't terrible. Just that, and that's kind of what I was saying. I feel like this is just a person that needs more clear instruction on, how to answer and what direction to go in. And that's fine. But no, if you guys want to hear about, Freemasons, if you want to do the Freemason stuff or want us to do it, I mean, we definitely will. I mean, I will cover whatever, if that's something that people are interested in hearing about.
I mean, I'd be willing to join a lodge and then uncover all the secrets and then betray their trust and just do a podcast episode about it.
Let's do it just for the podcast. Let's do
you want me to go undercover?
Yeah. What is this, like the fucking early 2010s where you're gonna do it for the lulz? Is that?
I'm gonna do a bunch of cocaine and join the Freemasons and then write a Vice article about it.
You should.
No, I'm really not gonna do that, Masons. You don't have to.
Right, you should put that out there. We're not very good at this undercover stuff. But no, I mean, I think it would
Dr. X agrees.
We'll see. Yeah, it's Dr. X doing it. It's not Pat O'Sullivan. He doesn't do that stuff. But anyway, so, but the Freemasons are a very interesting, they're a very interesting organization. It's kind of what the Freemasons were kind of mostly relevant. Now that there isn't a history there, or there's definitely people that, some fringe followers that have known about it for a long time, but it got really popular. I feel like the Freemasons were what happened right before Q happened. Right before the big pedophile rings and stuff like that, we had the Freemasons. Does that make sense?
Are you talking about anti-Mason sentiments, anti-Masonry sentiments, or the group itself? Because the group itself has been around since the fucking founding fathers, if not further back.
Just the conspiracy surrounding it.
I think that started. I want to say that started like early 20th century. That's very old too. Is like,
so just because there are documented, there's documented proof that people thought that these were already a weird group of people, doesn't mean that it was popular. I feel like it wasn't popularized. I feel like it wasn't really popularized until probably the 90s, and it kind of led through to 9/11, right? I mean, there was a lot of background in that, and then I feel like it was during especially the Obama years, and then so after the Obama years, then we started getting more into the Q stuff, like the big pedophile rings and things like that. That's all I mean, is that as far as like popularity goes. But I mean, there was some weird ones in between there. There was like the Monsanto thing. That was kind of more of a, the GMO stuff. That was kind of more of Obama years. I guess it just depends on how closely you follow this kind of stuff to see the groups and how they
it's so funny that you bring up the Monsanto stuff. I would love to track that somehow, and we could do like a mixtape of the greatest like one-hit wonder conspiracies that were like really hot for like 6 months, and then you moved on to something else. You know what I mean? And revisit that and see how accurate they were, and how they kind of held up over time.
I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah, like that Monsanto thing. Holy shit! And my wife's family are all farmers, and I would talk to them about that, and they're like, "What the fuck are you talking? Like this is not a big deal. Like everything is GMO. Like everything is
GMO. All it means is chemically modified. Now here's the thing: everything's a chemical.
Yeah,
everything has a chemical compound. I mean, it's natural. I'm not going to get into that today, but. We could touch that another day. But yeah, so the Freemasons have kind of, that's been around for a long time. First of all, the group's been around for a long time. The fact that people think that they're weird fucking people has been around for a long time, but it wasn't really popular, I feel like, as like kind of a conspiracy theorist, dreamland until like the 90s. And then it just kind of grew over the course of, getting into like 9/11. And then after 9/11, 9/11, I feel like it kind of reached its peak, and then it started coming back down again. And then we started moving on to other stuff. So, and now I feel like the modern day version of the people that think that Freemasons were a thing are the Q people.
Yeah.
So, but Freemasons are weird. They kind of fit into what we're going to talk about an hour into the episode now.
Well, you know what? Honestly, I was hoping that this one would be a two-parter anyway, because I have, trust me, I have plenty of stuff to talk about, but I didn't finish the book. So, like, if this ends up being a two-parter,
I got an idea. We'll tease. We're gonna tease the topic. We're gonna kind of start at the beginning. We're just gonna cover the basics of what everybody already knows, and then we can follow it up when we can. Right? I mean, we can do that because it's 420. And we've been smoking pot, and as you know, potheads and like conspiracies and fringe news and weird shit. We could talk about this shit for hours, right? I mean, that happens sometimes.
Yeah, we could.
So I already have the perfect title now for this episode. I can't wait. I'm excited. Well, you guys already know it because you clicked on it. But
but I don't know it. I'm the only. Think about it right now. I am the only person that doesn't know what the title of this show is going to be. I'm in the dark.
You are, and you're on it. I know, it's weird, right? That's a terrible idea there.
Dude, think about that for a second.
Man. Okay, so, but speaking of drugs and Masons and cults, this week we intended to cover Charles Manson. Oh, that's
right.
Man, I already know. I know the reaction there because you know what? I don't know how much I'm going to share. Maybe it'll be a surprise. Maybe I'll surprise people. No, I won't. I'll put it in the description, but it's not the title of the episode. But people love that shit. People love to learn about Charles Manson. They're so fascinated by this guy. And this was a big, groundbreaking case that has had a lot of weird fucking shit involved in it, right? So let's talk about Charles Manson. So everybody knows the basics. Let's talk about the basics real quick, but and we'll save the fun stuff for next episode. But the basics of Charles Manson is that he is he in 1967, I believe, which is weird because that date seems to be a synchronicity for me, or that year. He ended up forming his family, right? His quote unquote family. Now he had this group of this is what mainstream says. He has this group of followers that is referred to as the Manson family. They all live out on Spawn Ranch together. And Spawn Ranch is like it used to be like an old movie set or something, didn't it? You probably know more about that than I do.
Have you not seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
No, I didn't watch it.
Oh my Jesus Christ. Bruce Dern lives out there. It's where him and Brad Pitt used to make cowboy movies. Yeah, it was like an old West town, like where it was a piece of land that was very deserty that they turned into like one big movie set where you would film like Gunsmoke or you would film like High Noon, and it was all pre-built. There was a saloon, there was horse what are those poles that you would like, troughs and shit, right? And that's what the whole place was. But there was people that you could live there too. There's people that they weren't using it anymore for the film industry, so the guy that owned it was like this cranky old dude that just kind of hung out. He was near death anyway, and the rest of the Manson family just kind of occupied it, and it was a lot of space, and it was secluded, and they could basically do whatever they want out there.
Which was drugs. They did a lot of drugs.
Just drugs, and they commit grand theft auto. They had a stolen car ring.
Yeah,
and they were low level criminals, but not up to anything too heinous.
Yeah, I mean, they were definitely in like the crime syndicates and stuff. I mean, they weren't good people. They weren't terrible people. Now, Charles Manson himself, he had spent like a pretty much like his whole life, almost his whole life in the system. He had been in jail, prison, things like that. He was already like a career criminal, by this point. I think he was like in his 30s when he found the family, right? I mean, it was a while. It took a while. He's older than I am now, and like so I might be.
And what have you done with your life?
Right, I know. I haven't created a cult yet. Well, that might not be true, but. But yeah, so the Manson family, the gist of it is that the Manson family, Charles Manson, this is what they say, allegedly kind of saw himself as sort of a prophet, and thought that there was going to be a big race war, and had these people convinced that there was going to be a big race war between the white people and black people. I don't know. I don't know. And maybe Pat, because you're reading this weird book about it, but I don't know where like the Mexicans and the Asians and people like that, I don't know where they stood in it all, but
it's debatable whether or not race was ever a motive with any of this.
Period. But
right. But that was this that you're going. So just to kind of like oversee this for a second, what you're going to put forth is the helter skelter theory,
yes.
right? Which is
the most popular, the most mainstream.
The most popular. It's what the book was based on, and the book was written by the prosecuting attorney,
right?
And there was a movie that was based on it as well. When you say Charles Manson, if people tell you what they think, it's basically the prosecution's. That was his explanation for the murders. Was the race war theory.
Yes. Right. Yes. Right. So this is just, like I said, this is like what you'll find if you just kind of watch any YouTube video about Charles Manson, for the most part. So, he thought there was going to be this big race war, but he thought that the black people, specifically the Black Panthers, were going to pick a white guy to lead their group or something like that. It didn't really make any sense. But all these people were on so much drugs, it didn't have to. They didn't give a fuck. They could have told him anything. He could have been like, oh, I don't know why I keep going back to Burger King, but the king of Burger King told me to do this, and you guys should do it too. But just to kind of, just put that out there. But anyway, so in a weird, so they started committing crimes, and they were committing, they started doing the murder, and they were leaving behind calling cards that made it seem like it was racially motivated. Okay, so anyway, there was, I think, 9 deaths under their belt. Of course, the most popular being the Sharon Tate situation, who was an actress at the time, married to Roman Polanski. She was pregnant with his baby, and plus a myriad of other people in there. And people kind of found out about this, and they found out it was this hippie commune that was killing these people, and it was really shocking to a lot of people because hippies were all love and peace and light and wonderfulness. But then they all kind of found out that they were under the ruling of this man, Charles Manson, and so then they go on with the trial. He's nuts. Not just that he's nuts, but the family was nuts. And they were showing up to the courts. They were doing interviews with people. They were showing up singing and, dressed all fucking weird. And they're like, oh no, they're all going to get out. They're all innocent. It's fine. It's just part of it. It's okay. And it was probably like one of the most public cults at the time. And, of course, Charles Manson, anytime that he spoke, which wasn't very often, believe it or not, they really didn't let him talk a lot. He wasn't allowed to, I'm not going to say too much about it at the moment, but he wasn't allowed to speak during his own trial because they thought that he was so manipulative and cunning that he could convince the jury that he was innocent. And, at the end of the day, Charles Manson didn't probably kill anybody. He might have killed one person, which it's pretty commonly believed that he did, but he didn't kill any of these people. But he got sentenced for 7 counts of murder and a bunch of other stuff, and was in prison for the rest of his life until he died recently in recent years. So that's the basic. Do you think I left anything out there of if people don't know who the hell Charles Manson is? I mean, if you don't, I don't know. You live under a rock or something. But
I would just bring up the Beach Boys thing. So he had some interactions with Dennis Wilson, who was the drummer for the Beach Boys, and Wilson had tried to get him a recording contract with Terry Melcher. Terry Melcher was a producer. He had done like Paul Revere and the Raiders. He had produced the Beatles' only American release. So people knew who he was, and he was a friend of Dennis Wilson's, and Dennis Wilson had picked up some of the Manson family girls hitchhiking, brought them back to his place, and had kind of become intertwined with Manson. And this is according to the Helter Skelter theory as well. This is not, there's no conspiracy to any of this. This is no hearsay bullshit. This is real.
Right.
Well, it's all real, but this is like, the legit story. And that the producer, when he heard Charles Manson play music, realized that he wasn't any good, or he was just weird or whatever. Because supposedly the songs weren't bad. Supposedly the the Beach Boys used a couple Manson songs. Like, he could write a pop song, but he was just so intense and scary and like drugged out that they were like, we can't put this guy can't sell records. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they didn't produce him. So to get back at this producer for snubbing him, he sent the Manson family to his house to kill him. However, he had moved 6 months before. Manson didn't know, and Sharon Tate and Roman Polanski were living in that house.
Okay.
So when the Manson family showed up at that house, they thought they were gonna kill Terry Melcher, who was this record producer. He had moved out. Sharon Tate was there. She was pregnant. And with Jay Sebring, who was a hairstylist, this Polak guy, and the heiress to the Folgers family coffee, like Folgers coffee fortune, like the Paris Hilton of the day. And her name was like, I don't know, Kathy Folgers or some shit. But she was there. Well, and then they all got fucking killed.
Yeah.
And that was, according to the Helter Skelter theory, that's what set off the murders. And then the next night, Manson's people went and murdered his old next door neighbors, who were like a Hispanic family that lived there now or something. And then those are the only ones that I'm familiar with. But I know there was more, and I know that if you want to talk about the conspiracy theories or what this book uncovers, there was actually a murder that predated that they think set off the whole chain of events.
Okay. And that's not included in the Helter Skelter theory? Is that?
No.
Okay. This is so that part's well, I guess you said conspiracy. So that makes sense. Yes, there, Charles Manson is, it's funny because I think it's not funny at all. Actually, that's kind of fucked up for me to say that. Now I'm the bad person. It's crazy because he's, I think, the first person who's ever been convicted of first-degree murder without actually murdering anybody.
Right.
I don't know for sure. I mean, I might not be able. I don't think I can back that claim up with the fact, right now at the source. But I'm almost positive, at the very least, he was the first person convicted without actually murdering anyone that had other people murder for him. Now, you can be convicted of second-degree murder if you hire a hitman to kill somebody, right? I mean, but you're not going to be charged. They can't get you with first degree. So that is a very interesting, thing. And so when they came across, Manson and his family, they found this individual so dangerous that, like I said, he was not allowed to speak at his own trial. I don't believe he ever was able to appeal, or if he was, it was definitely thrown out, or if that was even a thing.
He had parole hearings, but I don't think he appealed.
He did have parole hearings, but I think they kind of knew, just talking to the guy, that he was never, ever, ever going to get out during his hearings. Because he was nuts, and you could watch them. You can definitely find all this stuff, and if you don't know, he's got a lot of the guy's nuts. I mean, they don't even know what he's talking about half the time. But so to think that he could like control these people, I mean, what was it? Was it just that
Well, that's exactly why they did charge him with first-degree murder, was because they felt that, and this was what was so sensationalized about the case, and plays into the bigger. Mm-hmm. Some of the bigger theories, and it also keeps with April's meta theme, which is Drug Month, that his influence and acid was so powerful that even though these people committed the murders, they were not themselves, because he had turned them into something completely different.
Right.
Because these were white, middle-class, young men and women, white, middle class, young, right? Anybody's kid. And all it took was this dirty, deranged hippie with his evil LSD. And he was able to completely scrub these people clean and build them up in his own filthy image. And that idea, that conceit about LSD and the power of brainwashing and everything that he did, basically they're suggesting that he was creating his own army of MK Ultra.
Right, because as we know now, that we didn't know in this was 1973, I think, right? Was when they were they maybe not when they were
69 was when the murder happens.
okay.
I don't know. I mean, I think it took a while for the trial, but it
Right.
was probably
73
still
is probably when he
70,
was
72.
convicted.
Yeah.
But in that era, like I said, we know now, but we did not know then publicly that MK Ultra was even a thing.
Right.
We had no idea yet. However, the government knew it was a thing. They were, they had just got done doing it. I mean, they were still kind of doing this stuff. I mean, it wasn't as heavy as it was. I think the funding stopped. We covered that in the 60s, right? I mean, so they had just come off of things like that. But right. I mean, they knew that, that was a possibility, but they really didn't showcase it. Now, also at the time, hippies were seen as people don't like hippies. Even now, you talk to people about hippies, they're like, ooh, hippies. Well, how could you hate somebody that just wants, love and unity and kindness? That's kind of a weird thing. I mean, why was that such a threat?
Because it wasn't just the hippies. It was the hippies. It was the bikers. It was the Black Panthers. It was the whole anti-establishment movement,
Right.
which it was the the baby boom, and a good percentage of them grew up to be fucking Antifa. Like imagine that. Like that's what was going on, and everyone was like, "Holy shit, it's everybody!" And it was a disease that was so prevalent that it could be spread through the airwaves. It could be spread through TV and through music. And, your daughter in Nebraska could become a hippie and run off to Woodstock and you'd never see her again. She'd come back with a half white baby or something. Like it terrified these people. And, the CIA, like they were done with MK Ultra, but this was also the era when as far as I know, I mean, not that I fucking know anything, but from what I've read,
Sure.
suggests that this is the era when you first start seeing them import and export drugs to get money for black ops, right? I mean, obviously that was a lot bigger, and when you get later on into cocaine from South America, but there was people that have connections to the Manson family case that were members of the government that were moving marijuana in and out from Jamaica and stuff, and then selling it in California at the time. So there was still this, like, this is when you start seeing the black ops, where now they don't have to add, Congress may have cut off funding for MK Ultra in 64, but if you have a slush fund of money that you're making on the side by selling guns to Nicaragua and stuff, then you can keep doing whatever the fuck you want to keep doing, because you still have that badge.
Yeah.
And as long as you're not asking for fucking money from the government because you figure out how to make your own, you can do whatever you want.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so it was definitely, people, the regular people in the government thought that this was definitely some type of threat to their, their way of the world. I mean, it was weird. It was really out there. And these weirdos were making themselves known, and they weren't okay with the way of the world anymore. They want to change. And that's always threatening to big bodies of government. So, I mean, there's, but again, like I said, that's why. I mean, it's not that they don't like hippies because of who they are. And even people, like normal everyday people, like they don't even understand why they hated hippies. Like they don't even, they couldn't even really tell you. It's just that they challenged their way of living, and that was a threat. And so, that's kind of, where we are with it. Now, I of course, I've got my own theories about Manson. I definitely don't want to get too much into it, because we will then start delving into the topics. But was Manson, was he a genius cult leader, that convinced these people of this of this race war that was happening, that really wasn't happening, and that's why the murder started? Was he a prophet? Was there supposed to be a race war, and this whole situation derailed that? Or was he a government puppet? And it was actually the government that not funded, but the government that kind of controlled everything in the back room and made Charlie do all this. We're going to talk about that next week. You have any closing statements?
Yeah, I'll give one little teaser,
Sure.
and this is not conspiracy. This is 100% fact. So there was about a 6-month window between when Sharon Tate was murdered and when Manson was arrested for it.
Yeah.
And in the middle of that 6-month window, the Spahn Ranch was raided by the police and the sheriff's office, and one of the largest raid at the time in LA County history. Okay. It required more, like I said, the different departments. There was helicopters, there was police, all in a coordinated effort to all go in at the same time. Not a single shot was fired. No one was hurt. No one was killed. And they arrested everybody. And this was about halfway in between when the murders happened and when he was arrested for the murders. And what happened was they had been watching the ranch as part of a car theft ring. And they knew that these guys were amassing guns. And when they stormed the ranch, they found machine guns, and they found drugs, and they found stolen cars, and they found stolen credit cards. And Manson was on parole at the time. And for parole violation alone, for being in the same vicinity as all that stuff, he should have been put in jail immediately, and he wasn't.
Yeah.
He was never charged with anything. He was let go, and he wasn't picked up for murder until another 3 months later.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's interesting is that there's no way, the argument that the book I'm reading makes is that there's no way that they could have gathered enough intelligence to make that raid and to have that raid go off successfully unless that ranch had been under heavy, heavy surveillance. And if that ranch had been underneath heavy, heavy surveillance during that time period, then they would have seen the family's comings and goings.
Yeah, they would have known.
And and they would have known about the murders.
Yep.
So that's the one fact I'm going to drop on everybody. And here's just a little piece of conjecture that I'll drop, and then we'll fucking end it at that. That something that's well documented in the Helter Skelter book and a bunch of other places is that when the police found when they were searching, so when the murders happened, Polanski was in Europe researching Day of the Dolphin. I think, do we talk about that?
Yeah, you were telling me about it a little bit. I don't know if we talked about it on the show.
Okay, so Polanski was overseas. He had just done Rosemary's Baby, but he was overseas at the time, and he was location scouting the film adaptation of this book, Day of the Dolphin. And the Day of the Dolphin is about the CIA training dolphins to assassinate the president.
Yes,
and that's the movie that he was in London researching. And so he was not there when the family came in and did what they did. So it took him a couple days to get home, and in the couple of days it took him to get home, his home was obviously an active crime scene, and he had gone through they had gone through everything, and they had found, the story is that they had found like sex tapes of him and Sharon Tate, like just films that they had made at home. He's a filmmaker. He's got all this access to filmmaking equipment. He's got a beautiful wife. It's not that hard to imagine that he would do something like this. However, after the fact, there's been like stories that have surfaced that's not really what those aren't really the kind of tapes that they found there. That there was a lot of BDSM films that he had made with Sharon Tate and with other people, and that there was even films of Sharon Tate with other guys, kind of maybe not necessarily with her full consent,
right?
And that there was a lot of this stuff, and that the police kind of saw it and found it and watched it, and then just kind of put it back, and we're like, okay. And they didn't necessarily know if that had anything to do with what happened in that house, but there's a lot of people that felt that they didn't accidentally go to the wrong house. They didn't, they didn't think that Terry Melcher, who was the record producer, still lived there, that they were sent there for a very specific reason. And that when those people walked in there, they walked in there with the full intention of killing Polanski and Tate and everyone else that was in that house. So
yeah. I mean, I'm excited.
And we can get back to this later. To be continued. I
can't wait to get into it. I'm excited. But it is a big story. There's a lot to it. And other things. And like I said, I've got my own kind of idea of what may have happened, why. But we're definitely going to cover it. Pat, what's the book you're reading right now? Can you tell everybody what's called?
Oh, dude, don't make it's chaos.
Chaos. Yeah, chaos.
So it's chaos.
Yeah.
Let me get it. It's like
something about Charles Manson.
Yeah.
Sorry, I should have.
Chaos. Okay. Charles Manson, the CIA, and the secret history of the 60s.
Yes. So we will cover more of that stuff to kind of wrap up our drug month, but it's been interesting. We're supposed to do that today, but then we got high, so it's it's just one of those things. It just happens. But we had a lot of news and stuff. Sometimes you got a lot of news, and that's good. Sometimes
you got shit to say.
Sometimes you got shit to say, and that's the beautiful thing about being your own boss in the content creators world. So, but I don't know. I think I'm gonna go smoke some more pot. What about you?
I mean, what do you want me to say? No, I don't smoke pot.
Oh, that's right. Pat doesn't smoke pot for that. What about Dr. X? You think he's going to get him?
I ingest it in other ways. I rub it on my lower back in a lotion form.
Well, okay. I'm going to go smoke some. That's my.
I bathe in it.
Oh, yeah?
Let it wash over me.
Well, anyway, so that's, I guess that's going to do it for this week, guys. We will get more into this topic next week, and we'll see you back here next Wednesday.